Hello, my name is Mina Matthews, and I'm the Senior Instructional Designer with University College. In this video, we will identify strategies for selecting the most appropriate instructional technology for the learning goals you have for your students. One of the things that an instructional or learning designer does is to help save you, the faculty, time. We will listen to the learning goals you have for your students, and then we will research and recommend the best instructional strategies in a distance environment, including instructional technologies that will help you address the goals you have for your content. But first, some background and a brief analogy. The toolbox. Have you ever had to build something small, like a birdhouse or bird feeder? When you sat down to make that bird feeder, did you begin by using a table saw to cut all the pieces out of balsa wood and then tack everything together with railroad ties and a sledgehammer? Of course not. That would be silly. In the world of online teaching, the bird feeder analogy can be applied to the web-based tools we use to teach at a distance. Just as in a classroom, we sometimes select the blackboard for use in some cases, the overhead projector for use in other cases, and even the Socratic method or small group discussions for certain situations. The technologies or tools we use in a web-based classroom are selected in the same way. Does it surprise you to think of the Socratic method as a technology? How about a whiteboard or pens and paper? If your students are tackling a complex math problem, you probably won't ask them to do it on Post-it notes, but you might ask them to work it out on a whiteboard in front of the class. One of the reasons we take such care in selecting the most appropriate instructional technology for your learning goals is related to the way students learn. Unfortunately, very few people have an unlimited capacity to obtain and retain knowledge on a daily basis. Most of us experience a fairly limited cognitive load. This refers to the amount of information that our memory can store at any given time. In order for your students to walk away knowing as much about your course content as possible, we need to economize the technology that they must also learn at the same time as your content. If your students are struggling to learn how to use podcasting software in order to participate in your class discussion, then that might impact the amount of information they're able to retain from that discussion. In these instances, it might be worth considering simply a text-based discussion, as this will have a lower impact on cognitive load. And even text-based discussion comes in a wide variety. For instance, if you want your students to be highly interactive or engage in the Socratic method, you may want to use a social network discussion board, such as a Google+ community. Or you may want to design your Blackboard discussion board to have ongoing triggers that prompt your students to engage with the same discussion multiple times over the course of a semester. Let's look at the tools we have available to us. We will look specifically at Blackboard and Google Apps for Education because both of these products are universally supported by our University of Maine System Information Technology Department. This can be particularly helpful because if your students encounter any difficulties, they can call the IT help desk staff for assistance. If your course needs a more specific software solution, it may be worth discussing this with an instructional designer who can help ensure that your students receive the support they need to implement that technology with your course content. On to Blackboard.